Okay, so take out your Voyages book and open up to page, thank you, 44. 44. Open up to page 44 in your Voyages book. Where did you get that marker, Grady? What?
I got it. No, I got it.
Okay, so today we are talking about interrogative pronouns. So when you hear the word interrogative, what do you think of?
I went to interrogative.
That's a good guess. It's interrogative. What do you think of? Mia?
Like questions?
Questions, right? Questions in a couple ways, because an interrogative sentence is a sentence that asks a question. Remember back when you learned about the different kinds of sentences, declarative, interrogative, all of those, okay? So interrogative is one that asks a question. So also, to James's point, he said he thought it was interrogative because it has that word in there, right? Interrogate. What is it? What are you doing if you are interrogating someone?
Where's the money?
Yeah, you're asking questions, right? When you think about detectives interrogating someone, a suspect, right? They're asking a bunch of questions. So that can help you make that connection when you see that word interrogative. If you think of interrogating, it asks a question. So interrogative, and we'll just say equals question, right? So if we have interrogative pronouns, what do you think they're going to do? Lucas?
Ask questions.
Yeah, they're going to be pronouns that actually ask questions. Okay? So if you look at the top of page 44, who would read that first line for us? Mia?
An interrogative pronoun is used to ask a question. The interrogative pronouns are who, whom, whose, what, and which.
All right, so yesterday when we talked about demonstrative pronouns, how many of them were there?
4.
4. What are they? This, that, these, and those are demonstrative pronouns. There are only 5 interrogative pronouns. And what are they?
Who, whom, whose, what, and which.
Who,
Which.
whom, what else? What? Which? What am I missing? Whose?
Who, whom, whose, what?
Who, whom, whose, what, and which. here are some examples. So actually, so you're going to use these interrogative pronouns at different times. All right, so let's see. Natalie, can you read to us about who? So just pick up where Mia left off.
Who is the main character?
Oh, can you read the little definition above it? Interrogative.
Interrogative pronoun is used when the pronoun refers to a person. It is a subject of a question.
Then you can read the question.
Who is the main character?
Okay, so obviously we use who when we're talking about a person. One thing to remember about who is that it's the subject. So subjects do the action, right? So when you're asking who is doing something or who is something, you're going to use who, W-H-O. So who does action? Okay, we're going to talk about whom next and whom receives action. So when you're talking about someone who an action is being done to, then you're going to use whom. Okay? So who is doing the action or who is something? So who is the main character in The Wizard of Oz? Who is it? Dorothy. All right. Let's see, Mary Elizabeth, can you read the next one in highlight there?
Wait, was it who or was it
It's where we left off, the interrogative pronoun whom.
The interrogative pronoun whom is used when the pronoun is referred to a person. It is always used as a direct object, an indirect object, or an object of preposition.
Okay, you can stop there. So whom also refers to a person, right? But when you're using whom, then it's the object of the sentence. So the direct object, the indirect object, the object of a preposition. So if you're asking whom something is being done to, then you're going to use whom, not who. So who does action, whom receives action. So whom did you give the keys to? Okay, who is receiving the keys? Whom is receiving the keys? Okay, if you said who gave the keys to Avery, right, then it's who. Who gave the keys is Avery. Whom would be whom did Avery give the keys to? Who's receiving them? All right, that's the difference. So let's just put who does action, whom receives action. Whom did you bump into at the store? Okay, great. Who bumped into Natalie at the store? Great. I did. I said does action, didn't I? Who gave us homework yesterday? Whom did Mrs. Sear give homework to yesterday? Okay, so who gave homework? All right, you might say, oh, Mrs. Sear gave homework. Who gave homework? So I'm doing the action. Who is doing the action? If you're asking whom received the action, whom did Mrs. Sear give homework to? Okay, then you're receiving it. All right. Those can be confusing. All right, the next highlighted section after where Mary read talks about whose. Over here I did this in a little bit out of order. The interrogative pronoun whose is also used in speaking about persons, right? It is used to ask about ownership. So whose equals ownership. This is possessive, right? Whose homework doesn't have a name on it. Okay, you're asking about ownership. Or if I'm going to say a pronoun, it would be whose doesn't have a name on it. Whose, it's hard to think of it without a, whose is this copy of the novel?
Who's this stray dog?
You don't, so pronouns, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so whose is talking about people still, but it's talking about ownership. Okay? So so somebody read the next one after those two examples with whom and whose. Lucas?
The interrogative pronoun what is used in speaking of things and asking for information, which is used in asking about persons and things.
Okay, so what you're asking about things. And information. Which can be persons or things. Which is about choice, right? You're making a choice. It's like that one or that one, right? So what is talking about, you're asking about things or information, which is talking about people or things, and it has to do with making a choice. Okay, when you use which. Hello there, Kennedy. All right. What are you reading? They're just asking for the name of a thing, asking for information. Which of the characters was the most interesting? So you're talking about people and you're making a choice. Which one? Which character was the most interesting? Making a choice. Okay? Any questions? Okay. One thing I'm going to say, if it's a pronoun, will it stand alone or will it have a noun after it? Stand alone. Pronouns always stand alone. So when I was having kind of a hard time coming up with like whose, it's because you can't say whose book is this. You would just be like, whose is this? Okay? So who, a pronoun stands alone. All right? An adjective has a noun following it. So you would have to kind of know what you're talking about with that. So pronouns stand alone. Okay, so one of the confusing things that we already talked about, but we'll just read about it here. One common error is to use who instead of whom. That can be really, really tricky. So which of the following sentences is not correct? So remember I said who does the action, whom receives the action. So, who went to the Emerald City? Is that correct? Who went to the Emerald City? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're asking who went, who did the action. Who did Dorothy see at the Emerald City? Is that correct?
No.
No, because the action, the scene is happening to, you're asking who it's happening to. Whom did Dorothy see? So Dorothy's doing the scene, but who is being seen? Who's receiving the action? So it should be whom. Whom did Dorothy see at the Emerald City? So the second sentence is not correct. The interrogative pronoun whom should be used because the interrogative word is the direct object of the sentence. In the first sentence, who is used correctly as the subject. So just think of it, who does the action, whom receives the action. Okay? Or if it's at the end of a prepositional phrase, it's whom, because it's an object of a preposition. All right, so those are your interrogative pronouns. So let's practice when you use them. So exercise 1, complete, I'm going to draw sticks today, I think. What? Yes. Sure. Okay, so for exercise 1, it says complete each sentence with an interrogative pronoun and then tell whether it refers to a person or a thing. So person, 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 thing, person or thing, right? All right, so number 1 is, Emily, it's you for number 1.
Exercise 1.
Yep.
Who wrote the novel?
Yeah, who? And is it referring to a person or a thing? Person. Number 2, and remember, you're asking who did the writing, right? So who wrote? So that's why it's who. They're doing the action. Okay, number 2, Grady. Yeah, which of the states did Dorothy live in? And is it referring to a person or a thing? A thing. And you're making a choice, right? All right, number 3, Aaron. What?
It's or thing.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear you.
What did Dorothy's farmhouse do?
Yeah, what, and it's referring to a thing. Okay, number 4, Mia.
With whom did Dorothy live and person?
Yeah, whom, all right? It's not asking who lives there, it's saying with whom did Dorothy live. So also you have a preposition with. So when it's in a prepositional phrase, you're going to use whom, okay? Number 5, Mary Kate. Whose was the dog Toto? And person or thing? Person. Yeah, and it's talking about ownership, right? Maybe I should do this. Person. I already have person or thing. Thing. Person. Oh, this is Maddie. Number 6, Laura. Yep, person and whom. Oh, I guess I already have things for that one, right? Okay. Very good. Number 7, James. Aiden?
Which of Dorothy's friends did you like the most?
Person or thing? Which is correct? Is it person? Yep, very good.
I mean, but the tin man is technically, he's technically a person, because he used to be a person.
Yep. Okay, a friend is usually a person, right? Complete the sentence with one of the following interrogative pronouns. Who, whom, which, or what. Number 1, Maddie, P. Isaac, will you shut the door?
What was Dorothy's wife?
Yep, what? Number 2, Ellen.
Who won the heart of the novel?
Yep, who? Celine, number 3. Number 3 is which? Number 4, Lucas.
What?
What did the scarecrow want? What? Number 5, Addie. What was the name of the magical city in the novel? Yep, what? Number 6, Mary Elizabeth.
Who?
Which one? Who? Because you're asking who did the rescuing, right? Who rescued Dorothy from the wicked witch of the West? Natalie, number 7.
What did Dorothy say? Wait, she missed
No, we're going to talk about a person. No, she's on the right one.
I was reading.
You are on the right one. You just number 7 on exercise 2. Not what? No.
I never watched the
You don't need to have watched the movie to do the sentence. So it's not what. We're going to talk about a person. What did you say? Whom. Yeah, because it's not who's doing the missing, it's who's being missed, right? So whom did Dorothy say she would miss most of all? Number 8, Avery.
Which part of the movie did you like best?
Yeah, which part of the movie did you like the best? You're making a choice, right? Okay, we're going to do exercise 3 now. It's choosing between who and whom. So it's practice. Oh, and whose, I guess. And whose. So remember, who is you're asking who's doing the action. Whom, you're asking who the action's being done to, or if it's at the end of a prepositional phrase. And whose is talking about ownership. So, number 1, Matt.
Who has read the novel Goes to the Class?
Yeah, who? Who has read? Who's doing that reading? Number 2, Julie.
By who was the novel written?
Did you say who or whom? Whom, yeah. By is a preposition. So, whom ends the prepositional phrase. By whom was the novel written? Okay? Number 3, Fred.
Who is your favorite character in the novel?
Yep. Who is your favorite character in the novel? Who is? You're asking who is. Number 4, Cooper.
Who
whom is your favorite character?
Oh,
wait,
no,
that's the
that
wrong
was
one.
number 3 that Fred did, and he said that was who.
I looked at
We're
it.
on number 4.
To who would you recommend the no, whom?
To
Whom would you
yeah,
recommend the novel?
whom?
Yeah.
To whom would you recommend the novel? So you are doing the recommending. Whom is receiving the recommending, right? But also, your other clue is that to is a preposition. So anytime it's after a preposition, you use whom. Okay? Number 5, Jax. 5. They're asking who like drew them, basically. Who do they belong to? What? Whose are the illustrations in your copy of the book? That one's kind of tricky, but it's like who do the illustrations belong to? So it's ownership. Like whose illustrations are in the book, kind of. Mary? No, not right now. Okay, number 6, Ellen.
Who plays Dorothy in the original movie?
Yeah, who plays Dorothy in the original movie? You're asking who's doing that action. Who plays?
She's from here.
Okay.
She's from Minnesota. She also died because of that movie.
Number 7,
Garden.
Erin.
She was put on a diet of cigarettes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear what exactly. Whom. Because you have a preposition, with whom. So that preposition with whom ends the prepositional phrase. With whom have you watched The Wizard of Oz? Okay, and number 8. Oh, that was Ava. Addie, number 8. Yeah, whose was the DVD you borrowed? Who owned it, right? So ownership. Whose was the DVD that you borrowed? Okay, so sometimes you have to think it through what they're asking for. Does anybody have questions about this? No? No questions? Okay, so your homework is going to be practice book page 32. If you handed it in today, I'm going to grab it out of there and mark off that you handed it in and then give it back to you. Everybody else should have it. If you handed it in yesterday, I gave it back to you today.
What one?
So practice book page 32 is due tomorrow. Okay, so guys, tell me what you can be doing right now because we have 20 minutes left. What can you be doing? Tell me one thing.
Reading.
You can be reading. What else can you do?
Book review.
You could be working on your book review, which is due next Friday. What else can you do?
Homework.
Homework, your practice book page 32. You could do your spelling. You could take an AR test if there are Chromebooks available. If you're not finished with a novel, you could take an AR test on a nonfiction article. Okay? So, work as well as you did yesterday. You worked awesome yesterday, so do that again today. Okay?